The CCN, Bill.
Thank you, Gary. Good to be back with you.
And of course, you've come to talk about the next step in the updating of Kendal Street, the CBD area, and you've got some exciting plans which will go on display come Tuesday.
That's correct, Gary.
What are some of the things that are in store for the people of Cowra?
Well, I think to go back a little bit to your initial comment that this is something that's been talked about from day one. The main street, the road surface, was obviously the first part of the upgrade, and now we're back to doing the footpath. So there's some options in terms of paving, styles of paving, colours, also looking at street furnishings, be they and a couple of alternatives there. What sort of access we can create into Squire Park and improving the front entrance and the visual look of Squire Park. Also looking at perhaps some cultural and heritage artefacts or drawings or cut-out motifs. But also some greenery in the main street, a little bit of perhaps planter boxes in the medium strip, and they have to be very, very careful how that would be undertaken, of course. But also some perhaps pergolas, what sort of
covered seating,
and a pergola style thing, which would create a bit of greenery potential options. So there's a whole lot of areas that the community can look at and be engaged in terms of how we upgrade the footpath and the streetscape. And it's quite, as you said, it's quite exciting, and we've got the broad parameters out there, some concepts out there, but we're really seeking some feedback.
Now, I believe those motifs you were talking about on the footpath, they were sort of an etched arrangement, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. It may be the footpath. It may also be in some of the design to be in part of the pergola type structures we're talking about, and maybe at the intersections of the suggestion is that they might be at the intersection of Brisbane Street and Macquarie Street. But of course, what we do now will be something replicated throughout the CBD, bearing in mind that this work will plan to commence this financial year, but it will probably be run over a number of years so that we can make sure we afford it and do it properly. It's something we'll do once, and hopefully we'll get it right.
Now, we're talking from Brisbane Street all the way down to the bridge?
We're talking from Brisbane Street all the way down to the bridge at this stage, but it will be staged. So it'll be the top section to start with, and it might be one side of the top section to start with, depending on funding. We're just getting the plans right now. Then we'll have to look at the funding options and how long that might take us to complete the work. But the work that's been done, the design that will be undertaken, is also something where contracts could be replicated further east if that was a desire of a council in the future. But also we need to be looking in the long term, because the part of the CBD redevelopment includes Redfern Street too, down around that Bunnings area and the car wash and that general area. So it's not just Kendal Street and this 2 blocks of Kendal Street.
The railway lane is not going to be altered in any way?
My understanding, railway lane is by and large completed. Obviously there are issues there, they'll be identified, they'll be looked at, but my understanding it's been completed.
Yeah, right. The CBD, of course, is not just Kendal Street, but some of the side streets. Are there any plans in train to do any of those?
Well, you're quite right, the CBD is not just Kendal Street and 2 blocks of Kendal Street. The railway lane being completed, of course, but getting access to railway lane is also something to look at. But Macquarie Street, you mentioned specifically, Macquarie Street travelling south from Macquarie to Vaux, that's going to be looked at very carefully, and there's some issues there which I think we need to give consideration to improving. We know the surface is pretty ordinary, particularly the western side of it. So I'm confident that will be addressed and looked at in due course, and that's actually been looked at as a separate item as we talk, but it'll still fit in with the Kendal Street redevelopment. And what we're looking at with the Kendal Street redevelopment is something that's consistent across the landscape. So what we do in Macquarie Street will fit in with Kendal Street. What we do in Kendal Street is going to be replicated if or when it's needed to be.
Now, Bill, funding is not going to be cheap, obviously. No. What plans do you have in mind to see this thing started and finished?
Probably not cheap, you're probably correct, but it's a job that needs to be completed, done once and done properly. It's been probably a little bit long since it should have been done. Part of the process is the chicken and egg, so part of the process is to get out and determine the design you want. and go through that process. Then we'll chase the funding. And I think I made that comment initially that this could be work which is carried out over a period of time in order to be able to fund it properly.
Now,
It's important we get the design fairly right before we start putting a dollar term on it.
The plans will go on display in the old Browser Wild shop in Kendal Street, starting from Tuesday, and that'll be on display for some time, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting it out as quick as we can, and it is conceptual. There are options that people look at and comment on. It's not a set plan that council's got its mind made up on. We've just got the concept out there and the options out there, and we're putting people to comment on. The reason we're getting it out now is that there is, as you suggested, a shop front in the old Browser building. My understanding is that'll be open next Tuesday. Council staff and the consultants will be there between, I think, 10 and 4. But also to make sure that in the lead up to Christmas, my understanding again is that shop front will be open, and that people who are going around the CBD in shopping, Christmas shopping locally, others coming into town shopping in Cowra, can have a look at it and comment during that period. But it's on exhibition for 2 months, till I think the 5th of February, and that's specifically to enable the retailers who will be run off their feet and busy after Christmas. Can then after Christmas we can engage with them, and they will have had a look at it, had some comments, but then we can sit down and work our way through the issues in terms of design with them in a more relaxed atmosphere, and impress upon them that this is getting the design right, because we'll then have to start, once we start the construction, we'll then have to sort of work with them in terms of how we can minimise the impact on their front door, for example. And we've been very keen to do that, but that's down the track, if you like, to this current process. I think the general reaction I'm getting, and you probably get sometimes better perspective than perhaps I would, but the general reaction I'm getting is that the work that's been done to date on the CBD has been very positive, and I'm getting a reaction that most people are looking forward to what's going to happen to finish the streetscape and the footpaths. So it is important that people do get out and comment and look at it, and as a process we've got to work our way through slowly. I think unfortunately with the CBD, the street upgrade, we might have missed the boat a little bit in terms of there was a lot of negative comment about that, and I've got no problem whatever with people having an opinion, but with this I think it's important that we create a positive approach, because we want people to shop there. We don't want people being impacted negatively in terms of shopping there because they think they can't get access to the shop, for example. So we've got to make sure they can get access to the shop. It may be an inconvenience, but it's a short-term inconvenience, but the shops will be still open. They'll still get access to the shops, and every effort is made to make sure they can, and they do. And I think if we're positive, it will create more people wanting to shop locally and be there.
And of course all the comments will be put into the mixing bowl and sifted and moved and jiggled and whatever.
Yeah, and of course, and people say, oh no, council got their mind made up. I don't think, and I've sat through the meetings with my colleagues, and that there are some fairly consistent opinions on some, I've got to say, and there are some opinions where there's a significant diversity of thoughts. A lot of thought goes into it. But people need to understand too that the council is genuinely engaging, but they need to realise that there may be reasons or restrictions as to why some things just not going to work. It's not that the council doesn't want to listen to them, it's just that okay, there could be issues where for peculiar or particular reasons it's just not practical or not going to work. So everything's in good faith.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We'll look forward to the more detailed plans coming out next Tuesday.
Pleasure, Gary, and I just really encourage people to have a look at it, because it's something that we're going to live with for quite some time.